Okay, so I'm going to talk about why I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. So let me just back up here a little bit. This is in response to this video by Blockchain for What is Best. So Blockchain for What is Best put up a video, and he said Bitcoin maximalist why, and it was a live stream that he did. By the way, come check out his channel. You can just search Blockchain for What is Best. Now, let me just say this. At one point in time, I said I wasn't ever going to talk about him on my channel before, and it's because he and I I felt like he misunderstood something that I had said previously, and he took it the wrong. I had said what he thought I said, but I felt like he took it the wrong way or took it out of context. But he's since apologized, and I've apologized, and we come to an agreement. But here's what I can tell you. Here's why I like his channel. His channel, he gets it. He gets blockchain. He gets the blockchain technology, and he understands, he and I agree on the root causes that blockchain corrects. The thing that I think, and I didn't realize this until I started creating a YouTube channel, the most disappointing thing about cryptocurrency right now is not scalability. It's that the vast majority of people don't realize the real purpose and why Satoshi Nakamoto first created the first blockchain currency, the first blockchain Bitcoin. Most people don't understand what was the root cause that he wanted to fix. What was the reason in fixing this cause? What was the purpose in creating a solution, which is blockchain and cryptocurrency in general? And so one of the things that, and he was saying, why be a Bitcoin maximalist? Now, I probably agree with about 50% of what he says on these topics, but I wanted to give my personal reply here to his video. And I think one day in the future, maybe he and I will do a live stream together or something, because I think it'd be very interesting, because we have some great points that we agree upon, and then there are some points that we don't agree upon. But let's get into that. Real quick, before I do, ladies and gentlemen, I am currently using my CryptoTab browser, earning free Bitcoin using my browser. Oh wow, it's time for a withdrawal. I didn't even catch that. All right. So let me grab the address. All right, so here we go. Don't be trying to send any Bitcoin. Don't send no tips to this address. This is an advertising address. All right. We'll get that done. Okay, so I use a CryptoTab browser, link in the description. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Why am I a Bitcoin maximalist? First of all, it's important to understand what is the problem that Bitcoin solves. The major reason why it was created. And this is where myself and Blockchain for What is Best, I think, agree 100%. The single biggest reason, and I told you earlier that the most disappointing thing is that most people don't realize the true fundamental reason of why Bitcoin, they don't get the gravity of the problem and why Bitcoin was created in the first place. If you get that and you realize that other people don't quite get it, then you recognize there's a potential for an incredible opportunity for Bitcoin to go up a tremendous amount. I believe Bitcoin one day is going to be worth $1 million US in today's buying power. Like, I genuinely believe that's going to happen at some point in the future, because the problem in which Bitcoin solves is just so massive. And I have an entire playlist on this on my channel, but let me just, if you haven't seen Money as Debt, and this video is on my channel, I'll put it in the card above. And it's so shocking to me how I have talked about this ad nauseum on this channel. I find it unbelievable that you could be an investor in cryptocurrency, an enthusiast in cryptocurrency, a believer in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, whatever, and you've never watched this documentary. So I'm going to encourage you, I'll put a card above, make certain that you watch this documentary if you have not watched it yet. It is incredible. It's only 46 minutes. You and your kids and your grandkids should probably watch it as well. I mean, it's truly unbelievable the very first time you watch it. So once you understand the problem with our current financial system, and you understand that there's really no easy way to fix it, and what you have to ask yourself is, how come the US dollar continues to lose value year after year? Why did a candy bar used to cost a nickel and now it costs $1? It's not because the ingredients went up in price. It's not just because everything gets expensive. The question is, why does everything get expensive? And that's what Money as Debt addresses. It's why does everything get expensive? It's because we're in an economy that more money can be created literally out of thin air. Again, if you don't understand how that exists or why, watch the documentary Money is Debt. But more is, and the reason this is a problem is it one of the fundamental reasons that hurts you and I, the average person on the street, and our parents and our grandparents, is because it erodes the savings that people have. So you save money for retirement. If you save money for retirement today and you save $1 million, hypothetically, in retirement, inflation doubles, or the value of the dollar goes down by roughly, I mean, just around super rough figure. The buying power of the dollar drops by about, I don't know. I've seen different numbers. As soon as I say this, someone's going to correct me in the comments. Inflation doubles every 10 years, roughly. Or the creation of money it doubles itself every 10 years, roughly. And it's actually going faster. So by that logic, the buying power that you have today, you will lose approximately 50% of it in 10 years. And that continues to occur every 10 years. The value of the dollar today, once we went on since the 70s, the buying power of the dollar has dropped like 99%. And you can research that online. That's a known statistic. So the value of the dollar since, I think it was the 70s that we went off, the early 70s or mid 70s that we went off the gold standard. So the value of the dollars in the past 40 years has just been eroded drastically. And that hurts the average person. And when you ask yourself, why does that occur? It occurs because somebody's making money by eroding the value of the dollar. So who's making money? You can get an idea if you go watch Money is Debt. And this explains it better than anything I have ever seen. And I'm a simpleton when it comes to understanding logic. And I always tell people I reserve the right to be 100% wrong about 100% of everything 100% of the time. But if you watch this documentary, it's going to make a lot of sense to you on why blockchain cryptocurrency was first created. And by the way, I believe that currency is going to be the number one use case for blockchain. I don't believe it's going to be the only use case. I think things like Ethereum and programmable blockchains will be there as well. So once you understand that logic, and I actually think blockchain, for what is best, agrees with all this. The thing that I disagree with some people is, well, let me say this. I believe that we need decentralization. So what is decentralization? A lot of people define decentralization as having less wealthy people or having a higher concentration of wealth in one location or in a few individuals. Like there's a saying out there that like 10% of the people earn or are like have 90% of the world's net worth or something like that. The statistic alone doesn't bother me as long as anyone has the ability to rise to the top 10%. The problem is that's not the case. And the biggest reason it's not the case is because the top 10%, they're not just, entrepreneurs who created incredible inventions. That's not what they are. A lot of them are powerful people who benefit from the financial industry, who directly benefit because we have an inflationary currency, or they're individuals who have made money from the military industrial complex or the Defense Department contracts that would never be possible if we did not have a currency that can be artificially inflated. Do you know one of the only areas of government that even the president does not understand? And you can research this. There was a documentary back on probably, 6 or 8 years ago, I think, I'm trying to remember if it was Discovery Channel or National Geographic. I thought it was fascinating. And it was I cannot remember the name of it to save my life. Someone in the comments, if you know it, please put it in the comments. I think it was the President's Secrets. And it was basically talking about what are some of the secrets that even what are some American secrets even the American president doesn't know about? And part of them was the spending in the defense budget. There's a lot of things in defense that are classified by code names, and they're top secret, and nobody knows exactly what they are. Now, of course, the president could probably find out what they are if they dug deep enough and looked into them and tried to figure out why is there $1 billion being spent here and $5 billion spent there. They could probably figure it out. They have the clearances and whatnot to probably see those things and to figure that out. But there's so many of these covert spending, and it's so much money that it just never really gets scrutinized in great detail. And because it's a lot of quote unquote top secret spending, but who determines what's top secret? Who determines what's top secret? That's the challenge. But because it's so covert, there's no idea where that spending is at. Again, that's just one example where money can be abused. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't spend money on defense. I believe a nation's defense is one of the main priorities of the U.S. government, or any government for that matter, your own country's defense. So that's not, I'm not necessarily saying that I have a problem with it. What I have a problem is spending that is not monitored and controlled. I did a video right here, will Bitcoin reach $1 million? And I'll put this in the card above as well. But in this video, one of the things I talked about was the debt. Listen to this.
But even to cut spending, it's crazy. To balance the federal budget in fiscal year 2019, it would be necessary to cut all spending by 22%. Yes, this means Social Security, Medicare, defense, food stamps, and college loans. So take a look. Right here, largest budget items right here.
Okay, and you can watch this full video above. I got a lot of views on this video. But $21 trillion is the debt. $21 trillion is our debt, nation's debt. We're going in debt at a rate of about $45,000 per second. And the only reason that's possible is because of what's explained in money as debt. And that would be stopped. That would be stopped by decentralized cryptocurrency. So for me, decentralization is not an equal distribution of wealth. Decentralization for me is a decentralization of the people who unethically or immorally control wealth. Meaning, for example, I do not have a problem with I saw a political news article where someone said it's immoral to have, billionaires. I disagree. I actually think Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, I think we'll see our first trillionaires. I do believe that, but I disagree. Now who gets to tell you how much money you can and can't make? And who gets to determine that? What fair-minded person do you trust given authority over telling you how much money you should or shouldn't make, or how much you can or can't make? I believe that if you market or sell a product or service that people want, or even if you're an early investor in a product or service, that people want and will use, somebody's got to fund that stuff. Someone's got to pay for it. It might be, through IPO of a company or even an ICO. If you could get in, if regulatory issues don't allow Americans to get into ICOs, but I don't have a problem with ICO funding. And part of my issue is that they don't allow, current regulation doesn't prevent the average person on the street in the US to get into an ICO. And they say the reason they don't is to protect you against scam projects. Well, I think the only protection is not having the government help you protect yourself. It's about you learning to become responsible enough to do your own due diligence. Take responsibility for your own success. Take responsibility for your own failures. Because the bottom line is this: when the government takes responsibility for protecting you, they do things like they don't allow the average person to get into IPOs. They don't allow the average person to get into ICOs, initial coin offerings. The argument is because it's a high-risk investment and you can lose your money. That's true. But you also lose the ability to invest early in technology or a product or service or business that could potentially change the world. And those investments get reserved for the more powerful, the more wealthy, the accredited, the quote-unquote sophisticated. And see, that's the part that I think is unfair. So for me, it's about decentralization of control. I don't care that if, some quadrillionaire gets into Bitcoin and then one day, and he owns a bunch of Bitcoin at $3,500, it goes up to $30,000 and he sells half of it off. I don't care about that. That's his prerogative. I don't think there's any fair way to tell him he can or can't do that. I don't care about that. But at the same time, what stops anyone from buying a whole bunch of US dollars and then all of a sudden moving out of the US dollar into, some other currency? Nothing. But the US dollar is so big, trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, that there's not one individual currently on planet Earth that can tank the value of the US dollar all by themselves by, moving from US dollar to gold or anything else. There are some countries that could do that, and that might happen one day if you understand fractional reserve lending, the US dollar reserves, et cetera, some of those economic things. If you understand that stuff, you understand why the dollar itself is at risk. However, I believe as Bitcoin gains more and more mass adoption, price fluctuations will probably happen a lot less, a lot less. But if price drops now, if price drops, does it hurt people? Yes. But the question is, why did the price drop? I don't think it's immoral for an individual to make a decision to do their own thing in a fair, economic, free market environment. Like, I am as free market as they become. I think you should become as wealthy as you want to and can be, as long as you do it in a way that is not hurting someone else. I don't like when there's laws, like people hate Walmart. I had no problems with Walmart becoming this giant retailer. Woolworth could have became Walmart if they'd wanted to. The founders of, Walmart started out as a pimple on a gnat's behind. Sears was the big dog. The idea that someone could create a retailer bigger than Sears in the retail space was mind-blowing. Sam Walton had nothing but a flippin', convenience store essentially, or a chain of convenience stores later on. That he created the giant behemoth Walmart. I had no problem with a little guy rising up to become a big guy. I think that's amazing, and I think that's what's extraordinary about a free market society. What I have a problem with Walmart is when they started lobbying Congress to affect laws that gave them fair and unfair advantages. That's when I have a problem. You can research that on the internet. But that's where I have a problem, when you get big enough that you're able to start and that you're allowed to be in a system where you can start lobbying Congress. I believe a blockchain cryptocurrency environment prevents some of that from occurring. And yes, you can always lobby people. Yes, you can always pay people. I don't think there's ever going to be a perfect utopia. But it prevents the free money from sloshing around. It prevents the currency's value getting inflated away, which hurts, quote unquote, the little guy, the mom and pop on Main Street. It prevents that from happening to them. So by having a blockchain currency, you prevent a lot of that. Now, with that being said, one thing that Blockchain for What Is Best said in his video, he's like, I don't know if, Bitcoin's the main thing. I agree with that. Currently today, I'm a Bitcoin Maximalist because I believe at its core, Bitcoin is the closest thing to becoming a blockchain cryptocurrency that's going to get accepted by the masses. But I do think it's a good thing for there to be competition. But I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of good competition until we get a little bit closer to mass adoption, because competition is going to come from, would I rather use Bitcoin or Litecoin? Would I rather use Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash to transact on a daily basis? Or for businesses, what do they prefer to accept? And that's what it's going to come down to. Which cryptocurrency is going to be easier for businesses to transact in? But we're a long ways from that for a couple of reasons. First, most people don't even understand the number one reason why Bitcoin exists. They simply don't understand. They've never watched Money as Debt. They don't get it. They don't understand. Satoshi Nakamoto fully understood the concepts discussed in this documentary. At the same time, regulations are going to prevent. Regulations will prevent. Governments will do everything they can to prevent ultimate mass adoption. Why? Because if the US dollar ever has competition, it's a problem. They lose control. It's important that people understand that. I do think there will come a time when regulations will become null and void, basically. In other words, people will ignore the regulations at some point. But we are so far from that because our current economic system currently works. I do believe for the first time ever, though, that people will have an alternative. They will have an alternative to be able to transact business if you wanted to. Just like in Venezuela. There's all this crap going on in Venezuela. They got two people saying they're president of one country right now. That's a cluster. However, the citizens said, we don't want your petrodollar. We're going to use Bitcoin. They said, we don't want your currency that you've inflated away that has no value. We can use Bitcoin. And they did. They bucked the system. They had a digital alternative that was as close to a fair financial instrument as possible, that no single person can intentionally print more to devalue. Yes, they can sell, et cetera, and that's more common now. And that's part of the issue that's going to have to be addressed over time. And I think the only way that issue gets addressed personally, my only fundamental thinking on that is the market cap grows by more usage, more people, not the market cap, mass adoption grows, which I think will affect market cap. I'm trying not to misspeak as best I can in this video because, you guys know I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree, and people will absolutely correct me in the comments, which is fine, by the way. I have no problem with that. But sometimes people will say things in the comment, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. That's what I meant to say. Or, yeah, you're right. I didn't explain that well. So I'm trying to make certain that I explain myself as well as I can. So the number one reason that I'm a Bitcoin maximalist is not because the number one reason I'm a Bitcoin maximalist is because I believe in blockchain cryptocurrency. And I believe right now, by far and away, Bitcoin is the closest to getting mass adopted. I'm not partial just to Bitcoin. I do think competition is good. But for me right now, I think Bitcoin is the clear leader and is the most likely to get mass adopted as a cryptocurrency. That's the number one reason I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. And I do not care that there's someone out there who was early adopters, Roger Ver, like him or hate him. Today he works against Bitcoin, but he probably still owns a bunch of Bitcoin. I don't care that there's guys that have made millions and millions of dollars because they were early adopters. In fact, I hope, quite honestly, that one day, if you and I both believe in Bitcoin, and it does, my amateurish idea of future mass adoption, and I say amateurish because I'm not a financial professional, don't follow me, you're most likely going to lose money. But I believe in Bitcoin, and I believe what it's going to do. That's why I use things like the CryptoTab browser. It's why I do my best to adopt people encourage people to learn about it, use it. It's one of the reasons I have a YouTube channel. I believe in the future of what it's going to do. And I believe that if you and I take this crazy risk to purchase Bitcoin and hold on to Bitcoins now, because we believe that later on it's going to actually get used as currency in the mass market, then I believe that I have no problem with you and I getting wealthy if that happens. But I also have no problem with us losing everything if it was to go to zero. I don't think it's going to zero. But, I don't have a problem with people who take on risks to get rewarded. I don't have a problem with, someone making a ton of money. That's not my issue. I don't care about that at all. For me, it's about creating for me, I love the idea that we have the ability to have a currency that gets us one step closer to helping creating a fair and free society where individuals can rise up from absolute nothing and become something extraordinary. That's what I love about cryptocurrency. I think it gets us one step closer to that vision and to that model. And that is the primary reason that I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. That is the primary reason. And if you agree with me any at all, please hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment down below whether you agree or disagree. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Are you a Bitcoin maximalist? And if so, why or why not? Let me hear about it down below. And also, go check out Blockchain for What Is Best. Go check out his video over here. And he talks about a lot of things in this 18-minute video. But he does cover his thoughts on why you should or shouldn't be a Bitcoin maximalist. And it doesn't sound like I'll let you decide about his own video. Go take a look at his video. Thank you so much for watching. At the end of my video, I'm going to put my playlist on why I think Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million. So make sure you check out that playlist. Hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you like this content. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day.